You wanted me gone? Perfect. I come back only to finish.
I knew the baby wasn't mine before the nurse even put him in my arms. That sounds cold, I get it. But by the time that kid came screaming into the world, my heart had already been ripped open, stitched up with lies, and left to bleed again. My name's Ethan Walker, and this story starts at the moment most men dream about, the birth of their first child. Mine just happened to be the moment my whole life detonated. The room smelled like antiseptic and fake happiness. Machines beeped, nurses moved around with professional smiles, and my wife, my beautiful, venomous wife, lay in a hospital bed, pretending she was exhausted from our miracle. Her name is Madison. To everyone else, she's this red-haired angel with big blue eyes and a soft voice. To me, she's the woman who turned my heart into a doormat and wiped her dirty shoes all over it. She was holding the baby when she said it. "Ethan," she whispered, almost tender. When he's a bit calmer, "I want to show the baby to Blake." I blinked. "Blake who?" She wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "You know, Blake from the gym." Oh, I knew Blake. Every guy in town knew Blake. 6'3", veins popping, the kind of dude who lives on protein shakes and selfies. The alpha gym rat, as the guys at work called him. The guy she only trained with, the one she swore was just helping with my fitness goals. My stomach tightened. Why would we show our baby to some guy from the gym? She finally looked up, and there was something in her eyes I hated. Hesitation, guilt, a flicker of fear she tried to bury under attitude. "Because he's important to me," she said. "He supported me a lot during the pregnancy." I heard it then, the past tense echo of every late-night workout, every shower she took the second she got home, every time she laughed at her phone and flipped it face down when I walked into the room. Important to her. I felt my pulse in my teeth. The nurse came in with a clipboard and a flimsy stack of papers, completely oblivious to the grenade Madison had just rolled into the middle of the room. "Mr. Walker," the nurse said cheerfully, "this is the birth certificate. If you could sign here, we'll process everything." I stared at the form, at the box that said father's name. My hand shook. Behind me, I heard the door open. Madison's parents walked in, Frank and Linda. Frank, with his permanent scowl and cheap cologne. Linda, with that fake sweet voice and judging eyes. They never liked me. I wasn't rich enough, successful enough, obedient enough for their precious daughter. Madison pasted on a smile. "Mom, Dad, look at him," she said. "Isn't he perfect?" I didn't answer, because while everyone else saw a perfect baby, all I could see was the way Madison said Blake's name. Frank clapped me on the shoulder a little too hard. "Proud day, son," he said. "You gonna sign that paper or what?" My chest felt tight. My brain flashed through everything that had led us here. The secretive texts, the late nights, the sudden interest in working out 5 times a week with a trainer I'd never met. The way she'd snapped at me when I brought up a DNA test as a joke. That wasn't a joke. It never was. I looked at Madison. "Did you cheat on me with him?" I asked quietly. The room went silent. Even the machines sounded like they were holding their breath. Madison's lips tightened. "This is not the time, Ethan," she hissed. "You're being dramatic. Just sign the paper." "That wasn't an answer," I said. Her eyes flashed with that mean little sparkle I'd only seen when she thought she had the upper hand. "You seriously want to do this now? In front of my parents? After everything I went through?" That's how she played it. She turned herself into the victim so fast it would make a therapist dizzy. No denial. No firm no. Just manipulation. The nurse shifted awkwardly. I can give you all a moment," she murmured. "No," I said, suddenly calm. "Stay. This concerns everyone, apparently." I picked up the birth certificate, stared at the blank line where my name was supposed to go, and then something inside me snapped into focus. Not rage. Not grief. Something sharper. If Madison had been honest, if she'd even tried to be human for 5 seconds, maybe I would have crumbled. But she just folded her arms, rolled her eyes, and said, "Ethan, stop being paranoid. Blake is just important to you." I finished for her. "Yeah, I heard." I looked at the baby one more time. He was tiny, red, confused by the world he'd just been dropped into. None of this was his fault. But I wasn't going to let a lie own the next 18 years of my life. And that's when the words that would change everything came out of my mouth. I held up the birth certificate, met Madison's eyes, and said, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. At the hospital, my cheating wife asked to show the baby to the alpha gym rat she slept with. I tore up the birth certificate, said, not my kid, not my problem. The paper ripped in my hands like it had been waiting for that moment since the day she first lied to me. The tear echoed around the room louder than any shout. Madison's face went ghost white. For once, she had no quick excuse, no sarcastic comeback. Just shock. Pure, naked shock. Her face went pale. Her father lunged at me. And then everything changed. Frank roared and came at me like a bull, fists clenched, spitting curses. The nurse screamed. Linda grabbed the baby. Madison started shouting my name like I was the crazy one. And right there, with her father's hands slamming into my chest and the shredded birth certificate drifting to the floor like confetti from a ruined celebration, I realized something crystal clear. This wasn't the moment my life fell apart. This was the moment I finally stopped pretending it hadn't already. Frank's shove barely hurt, but the betrayal behind it bruised deeper than any punch ever could. I stumbled back, catching myself against the cold metal railing of Madison's hospital bed. Nurses swarmed, voices tangled in panic, alarms beeped, and yet somehow the loudest sound in that room was the quiet truth finally clawing its way out of every lie she'd fed me. Madison didn't chase after me. She didn't deny it. She didn't even look ashamed. She just hissed, "You ruined everything," like I was the villain in a story she'd produced, directed, and starred in. That was the first moment I understood something terrifying. Madison never loved me. She loved control. And for 2 years, I'd been her favorite puppet. When security dragged Frank away, I walked out of that room like it was a crime scene. The fluorescent hospital lights felt surgical, dissecting every memory I'd spent months ignoring. It's funny how the truth doesn't reveal itself all at once. It creeps in like water seeping through cracks in the foundation you never realized existed. I used to think Madison was just tired from work. But now I remembered. The night she came home smelling like citrus cologne I didn't own. The sudden gym membership. I want to feel confident again, Ethan. The way her phone was always face down, notifications silent. Her thumb moving faster than any text from her sister should justify. The extra load of laundry at midnight. The way she flinched whenever I wrapped my arms around her. At the time, I convinced myself I was overthinking. Madison had a talent for twisting reality into origami. Pretty to look at, impossible to unfold. She'd always flash that sweet, dismissive smile and say, "Why are you so insecure? Don't be weird, Ethan. You should trust me." And I did. God help me, I trusted her. My best friend, Jake, once tried to warn me. We were grilling in his backyard when he asked, "You ever wonder why your wife suddenly spends more time at the gym than at home?" I laughed it off. You know how she is. Once she starts something, she goes all in. He furrowed his brow and nodded slowly, like he knew something but wasn't sure I wanted to hear it. The truth? I didn't, because deep down, I already knew something was wrong. My heart felt it before my brain ever dared to process it, and the signs only multiplied. Madison stopped asking about my day. She stopped cooking with me. She stopped sitting next to me on the couch. She started wearing makeup to the gym, full glam, the kind you put on when you're trying to impress someone, not sweat out calories. She bought new outfits that were, let's say, for working out, only if your workout included someone holding you from behind. Whenever I asked who she was talking to, she'd shoot daggers with her eyes and say, "Since when do you police me?" That word, police, bothered me. Marriage isn't a crime scene, but she acted like she needed to hide fingerprints. One night, I heard her laugh at something on her phone, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. I asked what was funny. She said it was a meme, but when I reached over, she yanked the phone away like it was a live grenade. My stomach flipped. A woman doesn't guard her memes. A woman guards her secrets. Then there were the gym selfies. Madison posing next to Blake. Him flexing, her smirking. I knew those photos weren't meant for me because she never sent them. I just caught glimpses on her screen reflection once, like a ghost flickering past. But I swallowed all of it. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband. Turns out, paranoia isn't paranoia when you're right. By the time Madison got pregnant, Our relationship was a ship already riddled with holes. But pregnancy comes with hope, the kind that blinds you. I thought a baby would fix everything. I thought love could glue fractured trust back together. I thought too much. Now, outside the hospital room, everything clicked so hard it felt like someone slapped the truth across my face. Madison wasn't distant because she was overwhelmed. She wasn't tired from pregnancy. She wasn't working on self-confidence. She was busy building a new life, one where I was just a placeholder, the idiot paying the bills while Blake did the supporting. And that reality stung more than anything Frank could have done to me. The cracks were always there. I just refused to look at them until they swallow me whole. People say there's no pain like physical pain. They've never had their reality ripped apart by someone who promised forever. After leaving the hospital room, I drove home on autopilot. I don't remember traffic lights. I don't remember turns. I remember only one thing: the certainty that Madison had played me like a violin and I'd applauded the performance. When I stepped into our house, my house, the one I worked overtime for, the one she decorated like a Pinterest fever dream, it felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by versions of me. The version who believed her, the version who defended her, the version who bragged about her. They were all idiots. I sat in the living room in the dark, waiting. Not because I wanted to talk. I wanted to end the act. Hours later, headlights swept across the wall. The front door clicked open, and Madison walked in, holding her hospital wristband like it was a badge of virtue. Her hair was tied back, face flushed, not from childbirth, but from anger. "What the hell, Ethan?" she snapped before even closing the door. "You embarrass me. You embarrass my parents. You embarrassed yourself." Embarrassed. That was her takeaway. Not betrayal. Not guilt. Not remorse. Embarrassment. I didn't rise. I stared at her like she was a stranger who'd broken into my home. "Sit," I said. She scoffed. "Don't talk to me like I'm a dog." "Funny. Dogs are loyal." "You're going to answer one question," I said, slow and calm. "And I want the truth for once in your life." She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms. "Fine. What? Is the baby mine?" Her eyebrow twitched. "Barely. But it was enough." That was the crack. The tell. The truth trying to wriggle free. "Seriously?" she sneered. "You're still on that paranoid spiral?" "God, Ethan, you make everything about you." "That's not an answer. It's ridiculous." "Not an answer." "You're insecure." "Still not an answer." Finally, she exploded. I shouldn't have to answer that. And right then, the game was up. Because a woman who isn't guilty answers instantly. She doesn't debate morality. She doesn't call you paranoid. She doesn't dodge like a politician in hell. She just says yes or no. Silence hung between us like a knife. I stood, walked toward her, and stopped just short of arm's length. "You cheated on me," I said. It wasn't a question anymore. Her lips trembled, not with sorrow, but frustration that her script wasn't working. "I made mistakes," she hissed. "You were emotionally unavailable. You never listened. You never made me feel wanted. Blake understands me." There it was, the excuse. The script cheaters read from like scripture. It wasn't my fault. You drove me to it. You just filled the void you created. Blame the victim. Rewrite history. Gaslight until truth looks like madness. "So you let someone else understand you," I said. Repeatedly. Her chin lifted. "At least he made me feel alive." "You were boring, Ethan. Predictable. I needed excitement. Blake gave me that." I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I didn't break. In that moment, I became steel. "You turned our marriage into a circus," I said quietly. And I was the clown. Her expression shifted. She wasn't sad. She was annoyed that I wasn't crumbling the way she expected. "You think you're some hero now?" she scoffed. "Ripping up that paper doesn't change biology. Everyone saw you act like a psycho." I smiled. A real smile. The first in months. "Oh, Madison," I said. "You haven't seen Psycho yet." For the first time, she stepped back. "Ethan, don't threaten me." "I don't need to threaten you," I interrupted. "You already destroyed yourself. I just made sure the lights were on when you did it." She tried to regain control. "We can work through this. People make mistakes." "No," I said. "People fix mistakes." "You fed yours protein shakes and introduced him to your parents." Her eyes flashed. That struck a nerve. "You're pathetic," she spat. "No," I corrected. "I was devoted." You mistook that for weakness. You'll regret that. She flinched, not at my words, but at the truth she wasn't ready to face. She'd expected tears, rage, desperation. What she got was resolve. And resolve is far more dangerous than emotion. Madison thought she ended our marriage with betrayal. She didn't realize that betrayal was only the beginning. People think heartbreak is loud. They imagine screaming, plates shattering, fists punching walls. But mine didn't start like that. Mine arrived quietly, like frost creeping across a window pane. Silent, cold, unavoidable. After Madison's confession, no, not confession, performance, I didn't rage. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even follow her when she stormed upstairs, muttering something about how I ruined her life. I just stood there, surrounded by furniture we picked out together, realizing none of it meant anything. Every couch cushion, every photo frame, every little curated moment. It was all a stage set for a lie. I sat alone on that couch for what felt like hours. The room was too still, like the air was holding its breath, waiting for me to collapse. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. My chest felt like something was chewing through my ribs, and every inhale burned. I'd spent months sensing something was wrong, but forcing myself to stay blind, because the truth was uglier than anything I wanted to face. Now the truth wasn't a whisper. It was a roar. I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced, upgraded, in her eyes, by someone who looked like a Greek statue and had the IQ of a doorknob. Blake didn't steal my wife. He didn't have to. She handed herself over like a free trial subscription. I realized then, Madison never cried over losing me. She cried over getting caught. And that hit harder than anything. It started unraveling from there. Memories I once cherished now curdled in my mind. The road trip we took last year, she spent half of it texting. My sister's going through something, she claimed. Turns out, her sister was named Blake, and his problem was apparently solved in back seats and locker rooms. The time I surprised her with dinner, she said she wasn't hungry and left early to work on herself. Translation, Blake had a protein shake waiting. Everything was tainted. My wedding vows, lies wrapped in lace. Our plans, smoke. My future, hijacked. I didn't break until I went to our bedroom. I opened the closet, and there they were, her gym outfits, each piece more revealing than the last. Neon leggings so tight they looked painted on. Sports bras designed for attention, not exercise. And right there, folded neatly, was the shirt she always wore after the gym, his shirt. I could smell his cologne on it. Citrus. Sharp. Mocking. My knees buckled. That's when the grief finally slammed into me. I felt the floor, not crying, but choking like something toxic was lodged in my throat. My wedding ring felt like a handcuff. My house felt like a prison. My memories felt like a joke someone forgot to laugh at. How do you mourn someone who's still alive? I wasn't grieving Madison. I was grieving the version of her I invented, the woman who never existed outside my imagination. I loved a ghost she impersonated until something shinier came along. I thought heartbreak was losing someone. No, heartbreak is realizing they were never yours to begin with. The pain turned to anger. Not rage. Rage is hot, impulsive, explosive. This was colder, sharper, like a scalpel. Why was I the one breaking when she was the one who destroyed everything? I remembered how she smirked at the hospital, how she didn't even try to hide the importance of Blake. She wanted me insecure. She fed on being desired by two men, like it made her some kind of queen. But queens rule. Madison manipulated. She was never royalty. She was a parasite. That thought washed over me like fire. My tears dried. My breathing slowed. My heart didn't heal, but stopped thrashing. The sadness didn't end. It evolved into clarity. Madison thought she shattered me. She didn't understand. Broken things can be remade into weapons. And God help her when I decide who to aim at. By the time dawn crept through the curtains, I wasn't the same man who had walked into that hospital room. Something in me had been scorched clean. The version of me who tiptoed around Madison's moods, who believed her half-truths, who waited for affection like a starving dog. He died somewhere between her bathroom selfies with Blake and the ripped birth certificate on the hospital floor. I didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, while the refrigerator hummed like a taunt. The house was too quiet without the illusion of love echoing through it. I wasn't mourning my wife anymore. I was calculating her fall. Madison eventually came downstairs. She didn't tiptoe. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look guilty. She moved like someone who believed the world owed her comfort. She poured herself a smoothie, protein powder, almond milk, chia seeds, the breakfast of someone rehearsing an apology in her head, but not committed to honesty. She didn't sit. She leaned against the counter like a judge waiting for a defendant to grovel. So she began, voice airy, I talked to my mom. She thinks we should go to counseling. Counseling. As if a therapist could disinfect betrayal. As if words could reverse the biology she refused to confirm. As if Blake could be cured like a sinus infection. I didn't respond. Silence wasn't a lack of words. It was a choice. And silence scares liars because they can't manipulate it. Madison huffed. Don't act like a child. We have responsibilities now. I looked up slowly. Something flickered in her eyes, a tiny spark of uncertainty, but she masked it fast. Yes, she said, slower now. Whether you like it or not, we're tied together. That was the moment she made the mistake. Not the cheating, not the lies, not Blake. It was assuming I was trapped. She thought she owned my future. She didn't realize I had already begun burning down the past. You want to fix this? I asked calmly. She perked up, mistaking composure for surrender. Of course. Then tell me the truth. Is the baby mine? Her jaw tightened. We talked about this yesterday. No. Y correcta. I talked. You dodged. Her nostrils flared. You don't deserve an answer. That was it, the final nail, hammered with arrogance. I leaned back, almost relaxed. Then we're done. She blinked. Done with what? Marriage. Pretending. Being your emotional punching bag. Madison's face twisted. You think you could just walk away? I'm not walking, I said. I'm escaping. She slammed her smoothie down so hard it splashed onto the counter. You can't leave me. Do you have any idea what people will think? There it was. No, I'm sorry. Not I hurt you. Just my reputation. Madison never feared losing me. She feared losing the image of herself she constructed using my loyalty as bricks. What people think, I said, stopped mattering when you opened your legs to someone who benches dumbbells heavier than his IQ. Her face snapped into something primal. Not regret, rage. She didn't want me. She wanted dominance. She wanted Blake for thrills and me for stability. She wanted two worlds orbiting her ego. You'll regret this, she whispered like a curse. No, I said. You regret things when they're accidents. You made choices. She laughed suddenly, a brittle sound. You're not strong enough to leave. That's when I realized something crucial. Madison never betrayed me because she found someone better. She betrayed me because she thought I was incapable of consequence. She mistook patience for weakness, devotion for dependency, love for surrender. But now, love was gone. I stood, walked past her, and said the sentence that ended our old story and lit the fuse for the new one. Pack your lies, Madison. They're the only things leaving with you. She shouted something behind me, but I didn't hear it. I was already somewhere else. Mentally, emotionally, strategically. I didn't need revenge. Revenge was already happening. It began the moment I stopped loving the woman she pretended to be. If you think betrayal ends when you expose it, you've never dealt with someone like Madison. Cheaters don't accept consequences. They reinvent themselves as victims. And Madison? She was about to audition for the lead role. By noon, her entire family knew I refused to claim a baby. Not because Madison told them the truth, God forbid, but because she'd spun a story so twisted it could have been a political campaign. According to her, I'd lost my mind, abandoned my responsibilities, and was emotionally unstable since the pregnancy. Not a single mention of Blake. Not a whisper of her late-night workouts. Just a tragic damsel and her deranged husband. Cheaters don't lie to protect themselves. They lie to rewrite reality. The knock on my door came hard and fast, like a warrant. When I opened it, Frank, her father, stood there. The same man who lunged at me in the hospital now glared like I'd personally insulted his bloodline. Behind him was Linda, eyes red with forced tears, clutching her pearls like the world had ended. "Ethan," Frank barked without greeting, "we need to talk." "No, Olivia, you need to listen." Frank bulldozed past me into the living room. Linda followed like a perfumed storm cloud. They didn't ask permission. People like them don't. They assume they already own the room. Frank turned on me. "You humiliated Madison. You humiliated all of us." I laughed once, short, humorless. "You want humiliation? Try being married to someone who can't tell the truth without choking." Linda gasped like I'd slapped her. "How dare you speak about your wife that way?" "My wife," I repeated. "She stopped being my wife the moment she turned our marriage into her gym membership perk." That hit hard. Linda's eyes widened. Frank's face went purple. Frank growled, "That doesn't mean you abandon your child." I stepped closer, slowly, deliberately. "Frank, look me in the eye and tell me you genuinely believe that baby is mine." He froze. Silence. Seconds stretched like wire. Then his jaw clenched, not in confidence, but in fear. Because even he knew, even her parents had seen the signs. They just didn't want the truth to threaten their perfect facade. "She loves you," Linda tried. "She made mistakes, but she loves you." "Love doesn't require a DNA test," I replied. "And it doesn't come with a gym membership." Frank slammed his fist onto my table. "Grow up. A real man raises the child in front of him. And a real woman doesn't collect men like trophies," I snapped. Linda gasped again. She did that a lot. Like oxygen refused to stay in her body when confronted with facts. Their script was clear. Ignore Madison's actions. Blame me. Protect reputation. It wasn't about truth. It was about narrative. "Madison is fragile right now," Linda whispered dramatically. "Fragile?" Madison was a wrecking ball wearing lipstick. "She's been crying for hours," Linda continued. "She's terrified. She thinks you're going to leave." "Good," I said. "She should fear the consequences of her own choices." Linda staggered like I'd stabbed her. Frank stepped between us. "You're going to fix this," he commanded. "You will apologize. You will sign that certificate. You will be a man." Funny how the definition of a man changes depending on who's benefiting from his submission. "No," I said, "but I will be something better." Frank sneered. "And what's that?" "Done." Linda's purse hit the floor. Frank's hands curled into fists again, but this time I didn't back away. He wasn't facing the man Madison married. He was facing the man she created by cheating on him. The pause broke when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Blake, we need to talk, man. Don't drag Madison into this. It's not what you think. Not what I think." That was the moment I realized something terrifying. This wasn't the end of the betrayal. It was the prologue. Frank leaned in. "If you walk away from this family," he said, voice venomous, "you'll regret it for the rest of your life." I smiled. "Frank, I already regret every second I spent pretending this was a family." Their faces went pale. They left without another word. The door clicked shut, and I felt it. For the first time in months, I wasn't trapped. I was free. Blake texting me was like the punchline to a joke I didn't know I was part of. The alpha gym rat who helped ruin my marriage suddenly wanted to chat. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering above the screen, then did the only reasonable thing a betrayed man could do. I replied, "Me, come my house. If you've got something to say it to my face." 5 minutes later, he responded, "Blake, be cool, man. I'm not your enemy. Not my enemy." That was rich. 15 minutes after that, I heard the low growl of an engine outside. I opened the door before he even knocked. There he was, Blake Coleman, 6 foot something, shoulders like a refrigerator, arms sculpted like someone created him in a character editor and maxed out the stats. He wore a smug grin, like he expected applause for showing up. "Ethan," he said, voice dripping with practice calm. "Thanks for talking to me." I didn't shake his hand. "You got 60 seconds. He cleared his throat, glancing around like he wasn't sure if he should sit. I stayed standing, just to remind him whose house he was in. "Look, man," Blake began. "I didn't plan for any of this. Madison and I, it just happened. The phrase cheaters love, it just happened. Like gravity, like weather. As if betrayal were a natural disaster neither party could prevent." I raised an eyebrow. "Did it just happen once? Twice?" Or did you need a loyalty card? He winced, but continued anyway. Madison told me your marriage was basically dead. She said you were cold, distant, controlling. I laughed. Loud. Of course she did. Madison wasn't just building a new life. She was rewriting the old one. She needed to turn me into the villain so she could play the misunderstood heroine destined for someone who truly saw her. Women like Madison don't cheat because they're unloved. They cheat because they crave admiration like oxygen, and one man's devotion is never enough. Blake shifted, uncomfortable. She told me you knew about us. Knew? I repeated. Blake, I found out the same day everyone else did. He blinked. That wasn't the answer he expected. You didn't know? He asked, genuinely confused. She said, Stop, I cut in. Whatever she told you, understand this. Madison lies the way fish swim. She doesn't do it occasionally. She does it because it's all she knows. Blake rubbed the back of his neck. I mean, yeah, she was intense sometimes, but... No, I said sharply. She was grooming you. She fed you a wounded princess story so you'd rescue her from a villain that didn't exist. He opened his mouth to reply, but I stepped closer. She didn't cheat because I failed her, I said. She cheated because I trusted her. And trust is boring to people who need chaos to feel alive. Blake swallowed. His confidence faltered. His muscles didn't help him now. This wasn't a weight he could bench. Ethan, she said the baby. I held up a hand. I don't care what she told you. I said, here's the truth. If you're the father, own it. If you're not, get out. But stop letting her use both of us as stage props. He stared at me, and for a moment, I saw doubt crack through his perfect facade. Maybe for the first time, he realized Madison wasn't a romantic escape. She was a ticking bomb wrapped in shiny paper. She said, You blame me, Blake murmured. I shrugged. Blake, I don't hate you. You were just the next idiot who thought he was special. His jaw clenched, not from anger, but humiliation. Madison and I are done, he said finally. No, incorrecta. Madison is never done. She just changes targets. He froze like someone hit pause. Then my phone buzzed. Madison, where is Blake? Why isn't he answering me? Get him to call me now. Blake read the message over my shoulder. His face changed, and not in a way I expected. For the first time, Blake wasn't a threat. He was the warning. She's not going to let either of us walk away, he whispered. Not a prediction, a promise. Because Madison wasn't losing control. She was preparing for war. Some endings aren't explosions. They're doors closing so slowly you hear every hinge scream. Mine started with one sentence from Blake. She's not going to let either of us walk away. He wasn't wrong. Madison wasn't built with an off switch. She didn't lose gracefully. She didn't accept consequences. She hunted control like oxygen. And now she was suffocating. Blake left with his shoulders slumped, not like a man defeated, but like one who finally realized he was a pawn in someone else's game. He muttered something about needing space, and I could tell that for the first time, he saw Madison clearly, not as a goddess, but as an addiction wearing mascara. When the door shut behind him, I didn't feel victory. I felt anticipation. And 5 minutes later, the storm arrived. Madison didn't knock. She slammed the front door so hard a photo frame fell off the wall. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hair wild, her voice sharp enough to cut bone. Where is he? She snapped. What did you say to him? I told him the truth, I said. The thing you've avoided since the day you learned how to speak. Her face twisted, not hurt, not sad, furious. Betrayal doesn't wound people like Madison. Exposure does. You had no right, she yelled. You turned him against me. Madison, I replied calmly. All I did was remove the makeup from the monster. He handled the rest. She pointed at me like a prosecutor. You think you're innocent? You pushed me away. You made me look for attention somewhere else. Ah, yes, the cheater's catechism. I didn't betray you. You caused my betrayal. I wasn't angry anymore. Just tired. Attention isn't loyalty, I said, and desire isn't love. She laughed. Hi, manic brittle. You think anyone will believe you? You ripped up a birth certificate in a hospital. You looked insane. I looked brave, I corrected. You just didn't expect bravery from a man you trained to apologize for breathing. Her eyes widened. She wasn't expecting that version of me, the one who didn't flinch. Frank's talking to a lawyer, she threatened. We can make your life hell. We? I echoed. Frank can't save you from DNA. That silence? It was delicious. Her pupils shrank. She didn't deny it. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She calculated. Because Madison wasn't afraid of cheating. She was afraid of proof. You wouldn't, she whispered. Madison, I replied. You lit the match. I'm just showing people the fire. She lunged toward my phone, but I stepped aside. She missed. She stumbled. And in that moment, just one breath, one heartbeat, her mask cracked completely. The sweet voice was gone. The crocodile tears gone. The seductive manipulation gone. What stood in front of me was the real Madison. A woman whose ego was bigger than her conscience. A woman who mistook desire for power. A woman who thought loyalty was weakness. You're not leaving me, she hissed. You can't. People will think. People, I interrupted, don't care. And even if they did, their opinions can't resurrect a corpse. Our marriage isn't a corpse, she screamed. I stared straight into her soul. It's not breathing, Madison. Stop pretending you don't smell the decay. Her lips trembled, not with fear, but realization. She couldn't win anymore. Not with lies. Not with Blake. Not with her parents. Not with the baby she weaponized. Her shoulders slumped. For the first time since I met her, she looked small. Not innocent, just exposed. This isn't how it was supposed to go, she whispered. It never goes how liars plan it, I said softly. Because lies only work when the truth is quiet. And then, I'm filing for divorce. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't dramatic. It was a sentence with the finality of a firing squad. Madison opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. No script. No spin. No audience to applaud her performance. Just silence. She walked out, not defeated but dethroned. The door clicked shut. This time, it sounded like freedom. Epilogue. I didn't win. There are no winners in betrayal, only survivors. But I learned this. A broken heart doesn't make you weak. It removes the parts of you that accepted crumbs and calls them meals. If you're reading this and you feel cracks forming in your trust, don't ignore them. Cracks don't mean something is wrong. They mean something wants out. And sometimes letting it break is the only way you ever get free.